My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Thank you all very much for tuning in today. I am greatly appreciative for you tuning in. I have the founder of marketing agency Allies for Me, who is using a proven method that mimics the stages of courtship. Ally for Me helps companies find strangers and convert them into high-paying customers. An 8-stage customer value journey is the framework that leads someone from first contact to post-purchase. You know, and one of the things that's really interesting about this individual, you know, he says that, you know, I can't sell, so I create environments where people want to buy. You know, and that's one of the things that we want to do is just find ways to buy, because all of us are not salespersons. I know I'm not. And he was able to overcome a major life situation to encourage us today, you know, that he just experienced a few short months ago. So, you know, I bring to you today someone that is impactful, someone that's influential, and that has a story to tell us today. I introduce to you today Mr. Craig Andrews. Craig, thank you very much for coming on today.
Maurice, thanks for having me. It's such a delight to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
That's cool. That's cool. So, you know, we had a great conversation before we had gotten on. And one of the things I really want to understand is how to convert, you know, a salesperson like myself, who is not a salesperson, into a master closer. How, you know, what would someone need to do to become that?
You know, this is going to sound a little Zen-like. I'm not Zen, but what I found is the best way is to quit trying to sell, and actually try to help people.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, let me back up a little bit. You know, I've been doing marketing for several decades now, and you know, did very well. But the one thing I've always struggled with is selling.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so I started taking these sales trainings, and they gave me scripts, and they told me how to structure the sales call. And when I did those things, one, I felt a little bit slimy. I felt dirty.
Right.
And two, it didn't work. Probably partially because, you know, I was doing something that wasn't comfortable for me. I think there's something else going on. I mean, and we experience this every day, you know. So yesterday my phone rings, I pick up, and, you know, it's somebody trying to sell me something.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a switch in our brain that flips in microseconds as soon as we detect anything that looks like sales language or sales posturing. We automatically put our guard up because we just don't want to be sold.
Right.
And I think it goes even a step further. I think it goes into your body language.
Okay.
You know, I truly believe unless you're a bona fide sociopath, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I mean, somebody who truly has complete control of their emotions, you know, you have to be a sociopath to not have your body language reflect that you're trying to sell somebody, you're trying to close them. And when they detect that, their guard goes up.
Right.
And one thing that hit me, you know, a number of years ago was there is no sales pitch that can overcome a bad offer.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, for instance, if you're trying to sell liver, there's not a sales pitch in the book that's going to sell me liver. Not buying it,
You're right
no way,
about
no
that.
how. It's a bad offer. But an incredibly powerful offer can overcome even a bad sales pitch.
Okay.
And so that's where I started working on trying to build better offers. And we would call those an irresistible first time offer. That's let me give a couple examples of what it looks like, because you've seen these before.
Okay.
I'm going to give you two examples.
Okay.
I guarantee you, of these two, you know of at least one. And one is what we would call a simple offer. The other is what we would call a complex offer.
Okay.
So years ago, Columbia House Records had a deal when albums were popular the first time that they would give you 13 albums for a penny.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, if you're the type
right.
of person that wants to build a record collection, one penny gets you 13 steps closer to your goal.
Right. I remember that.
And guess what? Columbia House Records made a lot of money off that. They lost on the first sale. They made a ton by pulling you into their world. Now, we would say that's a simple offer. And the folks we work with in our own business is high ticket sales.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So we work with, especially like B2B service industries, coaches, consultants. Those are typically high ticket offers. And the simple first time offer doesn't work. So here's an example of a complex one. We didn't design this, but I use it because I think everybody can understand it and relate to it.
Okay.
Even if they don't like it.
Okay.
So there was a guy named Bob Stupak who bought a dumpy old hotel at the end of the Vegas Strip. And he renamed it Bob Stupak's Vegas World. Today it's called the Strat. It used to be called the Stratosphere. But when Stupak bought it, it was nothing. And so to build it up, he ran a special. He said, give me $396 and I will give you 3 days and 2 nights in one of my deluxe suites.
Okay.
When you arrive, there will be a bottle of champagne waiting for you in your room. All of your drinks while you're on property are free, whether you're gambling or not. Even if you're sitting in one of my entertainment lounges, you pay nothing more for your drinks.
Interesting.
Not only that, but for your $396, I will give you $600 of chips to use in my casino.
That's not bad.
Right. So that's what we would call a complex offer that has 4 deliverables.
Right.
The room rate was a discount off the published rate, the free bottle of champagne, the free booze, and the free money. But and so if you're the type of person that likes to drink and gamble, it's hard to say no to that offer. It's a great deal.
Right.
What I think's beautiful about that offer is it simultaneously repels his least profitable customers.
Right.
So if he presents that to me, I'm not a gambler.
Right.
And drinking, I'm not going to drink that much. And the only thing that's going to be interesting is if he has some really nice wines that he's going to lay out.
Right.
And so for me, I'm like, nah, I think I'll go stay somewhere else, which was good for him because he understood the lifetime value of his customers. And he knew that if he could get somebody in his casino and get them drinking, that he would make tons of money off them.
Right.
And so he made the most money when his hotel is filled with people who like to drink and gamble. And putting, the moral thing aside of that, it illustrates the reason I use that is everybody can relate to that. And there are people who like to drink and gamble and say, hey, yeah, that's a good deal. I'd like to get that. Does he still offer it? Or people like me who are like, no, that's not for me.
Right.
And so those 2 offers, the Columbia House Records and Bob Stupak's offer, those are irresistible offers. And you really don't have to be a salesperson to sell those.
So
You just have to present them.
so here's
And
what's
uh,
interesting is that what you're doing is that you're creating an environment where you want to buy for that customer, right?
yes.
So how would someone go about that? That's like someone like myself who's a small business consultant, right? So what kind of environment? Give me an example of an environment I could create that someone will want to buy instead of me showing them I'm trying to sell them. Because like you just mentioned, I'm not a gambler myself. I'm not a drinker. But someone that is, that's an environment they would want to be in because ultimately they're going to buy more chips. They're going to get more drinks.
Yes.
So how is someone as a small business consultant or anyone that's trying to start their own company, how would they create that environment? What would be an example for them to do?
Well, so people come to us because they have problems.
Right.
Yeah, they come to you because they have a problem that they're hoping you can solve. And and so when somebody calls us, um, they for us it's always they have a revenue problem. Yeah,
Right, right.
it's always a revenue problem. So guess what I do? I sit down and I just ask them questions.
Mm-hmm.
The first part is asking questions. I mean, and maybe you could put this in the category of sales technique. I would just put this in just good human decency. I mean, I'm sure you've had people in your life where you say one thing and they start listing off all the things that you should do. And you're sitting there thinking, you don't know jack about me.
Right. You're right about that.
And there is nothing more insulting than coming into somebody's life and telling them how to fix a problem that you haven't taken the time to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so I start with a conversation where, and that's the beginning of creating the environment where I just start asking some questions.
Okay.
Now I have a list of questions. I always work from the same exact list.
Right.
Very strategic in the questions I ask. But they're all focused on understanding their problem and figuring out if I can indeed help them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I can't help them, I tell them. And I try to find somebody that can help them. But when I get to the end of those questions and I feel like I can help them, I'll usually give a short presentation that shows a little bit about what we do. And then I throw out one of these first time offers.
Okay.
And guess what? These offers, when we design these, we design them to be the best advice that you would give to a friend if they approached you. And I talked about how they have 3 to 5 deliverables. Like Columbia House Records, for one penny, they get you 13 records closer to your goal. Well, with 3 to 5 deliverables for a complex offer, those 3 to 5 deliverables represent 3 to 5 milestones that get them 3 to 5 steps closer to their goal. And guess what? We make it clear you have no obligation moving forward. Once you get these, you have 3 choices. You can take this and implement it yourself, or you can take it to someone else and have them implement it for you, or 3, and listen to my wording here, if we mutually agree, we will help to implement it for you. And the reason that mutual agreement is there is we think this is like a coffee date. Think about courtship. You don't go from, hi, how do you do? Will you marry me? You go out for coffee and you take all the risk out. You drive separately. If you're in a big city like Philly, there's a chance you don't know where each other lives and you don't tell each other.
Right.
You meet at the coffee shop, and what the ladies tell me is they have a girlfriend that will ring in about 15 to 20 minutes or text them to see if they need a rescue.
Right.
And, so you're taking out all the risk. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what these little, first time offers do, is we take out the commitment risk. We take out the financial risk. We price these things stupidly cheap. Okay. Just like the 13 albums for a penny, that's stupidly cheap.
Right.
The Bob Stupak's offer, just off one of the deliverables, you're getting $600 of free money. You're getting for $396, you're buying $600.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, it's stupidly cheap. So you're taking out the financial risk. And when the offer is structured correctly, and I will tell you, building these correctly is hard.
Okay.
But when it is built correctly, it's hard. A qualified buyer will say yes, because it's clear that it's a tremendous value, and it's clear that you're helping them solve a problem.
So how do you know if you have a actual broken sales funnel? You've been doing this for 5-7 years. How do you actually know that it's broken?
Well, our litmus test is, if you wouldn't send your best friend through your sales funnel, you have a broken funnel.
Okay.
So if your conversation goes something like this, a buddy approaches you and says, "Hey, Maurice, I think you can help me with this." And if you say, "Oh, yeah, but don't call my sales team. Here, I'm going to take you in the secret door. And I'm going to bring you in the secret door, this VIP door for my business, because you're my buddy."
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you have to take your buddy through the VIP door, what are you doing to your customers?
Okay.
And so one of my litmus tests is, when I look at the offer, when we build these first time offers, and I actually had this put to the test just 2 days ago. I was sitting in a meeting and somebody was describing a problem they were trying to overcome. And he was saying, "What should I do?" And I listened to him, and I pulled out a piece of paper, and it was a first time offer I just got finished building for a client. And I said, "I have no better advice to give you than to call this person and ask for this offer." I mean, it was in the realm of possible answers I could think of. There was nothing better. It was an insane deal that would help him with his problem for a stupidly cheap price. And let me get a step further. It's, you talked about a story. A couple of years ago, I went in the hospital on August 10th of 2021. And so when you said August 10th earlier, when we were talking in the green room, that resonated with me. That was the day I walked in the hospital. And, I walked up to the desk and I said, "I'm having trouble breathing," except it didn't come across so fluidly. It came through a lot of gasps of air. And they pulled me back behind a curtain. A few minutes later, I heard my wife on the other side. She had parked the car. She said, "Where's my husband?" They said, "We've got him. You need to leave," because they weren't letting family in the hospital.
All right.
And I didn't know it at that time, but it would be another 2 months before I'd see my wife again.
Wow.
Now, she'd see me sooner, but I was in a coma.
Right.
Because they put me on the ventilator. I had Delta variant of COVID. And the rule was, if you went on the ventilator with Delta variant, you died. And that's what the doctors told her. And as a matter of fact, I was the first one to leave that ICU alive.
Wow.
But so I was in a coma for 6 weeks, and when I woke up, there was a really interesting revelation there that also ties into first time offers. But let me fast forward a little bit in the context of what we're talking about here, in terms of what you would do for a friend. 3 days before they put me on the ventilator, I got an email from a lifetime mentor, a guy named Mike Smith. Mike and Brenda have influenced my life more than anybody on earth other than my own parents. And 3 days before I went on the ventilator, Mike emailed me saying his daughter, Kristen, had just died on the ventilator with COVID.
Wow.
And when I got out of the hospital, Kristen's brother, Michael Jr., reached out to me and said, "Craig, I need help with marketing." And I replied and I said, "Look, I'm taking the rest of the year off recovering.
Right.
Reach back to me later." secretly, I was hoping he would go away because I didn't want to muddle the relationship. He came back another time and I sent him away again. He came back a third time. I said, okay, well, let's jump on a call. And when I listened to him and I listened to the problem he had, there were a couple things that were clear. The first was he would never be a customer. His revenues just wouldn't support our fees. But the other thing was he had a real problem he was trying to solve. And the best answer I could give to him was, hey, you should buy our first time offer. We called it a little mini project, which basically gave him a marketing plan so he could go out and make better decisions for his business.
Right.
And when I sold that to him, and I did sell it to him, and there's a reason why I think you should, you shouldn't give your friends free things because they're not going to value them properly.
Right. I had those experiences.
Yeah. But when I sold it to him, at the time, I was really struggling with survivor's guilt.
Okay.
I survived a disease that killed millions.
Right.
And it killed his sister.
Right.
And in that environment, that was still my best advice I could give him. And to this day, I can look his dad in the eye and say, I took care of your son. In my mind, every customer should come through the VIP door. And for us, that's the first time offer.
Wow. It's interesting that you say that because, as I stated, I can relate to giving up free things and just free information. We could just have a general conversation, and they're not taking heed to what you're offering. You can see what the problem is, and because you're my friend, hey, we're friends. We grew up together. Hey, consider this, but they won't take the information. They won't run with it. And I've seen that time and time again. And my wife, she's been beating me up about it over the last few years. She's like, stop giving it up. Stop giving it up. But I want to, say that sometimes, because like you said, something about the survivor's guilt or, there's other things that kind of holds us back, to taking that next step, to, even doing that offer or whatever it might be, right? So what would you suggest for someone to get over that hump, whatever's holding them back? In any tips or tricks or ideas for them to get over that idea of, hey, you know what, I can't sell. I can't, whether I'm shy or timid or whatever it is, what would you say to that individual?
Well, Maurice, let me ask you, you were telling me, before, when we were in the green room, you were telling me about how you help different churches and what have you.
Right.
And let me put you on the spot. Do you really help them? Do they need what you do?
I do help them. I do, to a degree, because because I help them, those that want to help themselves. A lot of times they expect for me to, my experience has been, hey, you know what, Maurice, here's my problem, but they're not always ready. They might know what the problem is, but they're not always ready to flip the switch. Let's go. Here's the keys. They just want me to take the car and drive it for them all the time. So one of my challenges has been, giving them the keys and say, hey, you know what? I can go with you, but I don't have to do it for you because a lot of things I can't help you with. So there's some I can help and there's some I can't.
So, yeah, and there's two things that jump out there. If you genuinely help people, if whatever your product or service is, if it helps people and you believe they need it, you should be proud that you're selling it to them because you're exchanging one form of value for a different form of value that helps them solve a problem in their life. And the second reason you should charge for it is that's the fastest way to figure out how serious somebody is about solving their problem.
Right.
If they're not willing to pay for it, then it's not that big of a problem for them. Right. They're not yet committed. You may think it's a big problem. You may say, hey, you got to deal with this.
Right.
But until they're willing to make a sacrifice to do it, they're not ready. And by charging them, they have skin in the game. They have accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll give you an example. Back when the pandemic first started, I saw all these small businesses struggling. They were shutting down because, we went into lockdowns, and it was heartbreaking for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I threw out an offer to a few folks I knew in the Austin area that, look, if your business just came to a halt because of the COVID lockdowns, I will help you figure out how to get revenue.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get on the phone with you for a half hour. I promise I'll help you find a way to get revenue. The cost is $25.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had one person who took me up on that offer, and he was a speech consultant.
Okay.
And he was like, all my revenue, nobody's giving speeches. I said, well, what'd you have on the plate? And he told me about one guy that was about to give a commencement speech. And so we actually came up with a strategy. That one took about 45 minutes, but I was happy to do it. And sure enough, he went back to his client and said, hey, here's how we do this. And here's how your commencement speech is now more valuable today than it was before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And he went forward, and my buddy Jim got paid for teaching somebody how to give a public speech during lockdowns. And at the same time, I had somebody else from the same circle of friends come to me. We jump on the phone. She's like, yeah, I can't really move forward and what have you. And I'd like to have your COVID strategy. I said, okay, it's $25. She said, I'm going to hold off for right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what that told me was she was telling me how her business had come to a halt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it's not worth $25 to you to at least peek behind the curtain and see if we can figure something out. If that's not worth $25 to you, there's nothing I can do to help you. I didn't say that, but that's the reality. But if what you do is valuable to people, and I think what most people do is valuable, and if you're doing something that's not valuable, okay, reassess life. Maybe it's time for a different change. But if you're providing a valuable service to somebody, you should proudly charge for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shame in that. And the more value you bring to people, the more you should charge. But the key is, and here's the thing, never take more value than you give.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that would be something that, I would clarify. If you're taking more value than you give, stop it.
Right. I understand that too. I've heard that a lot. Not from me, not about me, but from other web designers. When my clients would come in and talk to me about their problems, like they gave me this one pager when we really need more, but they charged me $10,000, $15,000 for this one page and does not answer what I really need. So I hear what you're saying. I understand. They have the thought of I gotta pay. And I understand that part too. Like, don't get me wrong, pay me, but I have something more to give than what they were given. So yeah. I understand that part. I understand that most definitely.
Yeah.
So, but Craig, man, I thank you for your information. I thank you for your insight. I thank you for just being here. Persevering through your life obstacle, man. I appreciate that, man, because you've given out a lot of information today, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Maurice. It's been a delight.
So now here's the thing. I would like for you to share your social media, a free gift, or anything that you have for our listeners today. Your website, anything.
Yeah, so our website, if anybody wants to reach us, they can find us at allies4me.com. That's spelled ALLIES, the number 4, ME.com. And we do have a free gift for your audience, actually 2 gifts. We talked a little bit about these first-time offers. I will tell you, they look simple. They're very hard to put together. My first one failed. My second one failed. My third one failed a little bit less.
Okay.
And it took me about 18 months to start getting these to work. So we have a guide. And so if they go to alliesforme.com/never, spelled NEVR, just like your podcast.
Yes, sir.
And all lowercase, all one word, alliesforme.com/never, NEVR. They will get the guide. They will also get 23 days access to our course on how to build a first-time offer. Now, the reason we do that, the limit of the 23 days, is we study human behavior, and we know if we put no limit on it, folks will sign up, never do the course. It will never change their life.
Right.
We're in the business of changing lives. So we put the 23-day limit on it, and guess what? We see people come in. We see it in the analytics. They come in, they clip right through the content, and it benefits them. That's our goal.
Okay.
So if they come to alliesforme.com/never, NEVR, they will get those 2 gifts.
Nice. Cool. Thank you very much. And that information will be in the description for our show. So just in case you didn't catch it hearing it, please click on the link. The link is in the description. So before I let you go, Craig, I ask everyone my would you rather question. My would you rather question is, would you rather pick a fork in the road or 3 doors? Which one would you choose?
Oh. I'm going to pick a fork. Just, I'm looking at 1 from a complexity of choices and 2 from a probability.
Okay. Right. It's funny because when I started asking that question, everyone wanted more choices at first. And then recently it's been a consistent fork in the road. Because some people want to peek over, see what they can see. But then, like you said, probability 50-50.
Yep.
50-50. So, Craig, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate you. And everybody, his information will be in our description below. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Maurice.
All right.
Recording stopped.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, Saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.